I am 43 years old and experiencing the darkest night of my life. My gray hair seems to carry the weariness of the past 10 years. Every time I look at myself in the mirror, I feel like only a shadow remains of the man who was once young and full of hope. I am the regional manager of a bank. I have been working for the same institution for 20 years, and I have built my life around this routine, getting up at 7 in the morning, coming home at 6 in the evening, spending time with my family on weekends. But tonight, the words Ayşe said to me shook the foundations of my entire life. "I'm not pregnant. I never was," she said, without even blinking, as if she was stating the most natural thing in the world. I was sitting in the living room of our mountain house, the warmth of the wood-burning fireplace hitting my face, but inside I felt ice cold. Ayşe, the woman I'd been married to for 15 years, the mother of my 2 children, had told me 3 months ago that she was pregnant, and I believed her because I trusted my wife. I had no reason to doubt her. But now, on this cold winter night in our house at the foot of the mountains, the truth was hitting me in the face piece by piece. "Why?" I asked, my voice trembling but pulling myself together. "Why did you do this, Ayşe?" I will never forget the look on my wife's face at that moment, cold, distant, as if she didn't know me. "Because I want to leave you, but I want the money too," she said, a strange smile on her lips. "The pregnancy lie made you give me more money. Thinking I was having your baby, you did everything I wanted. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my ears. Had this woman used the 15 years she shared with me, the years we raised 2 children, just for money? No, it couldn't be that simple." I stood up, my legs trembling, but I tried to stand straight. "What will we tell our children?" I said, my voice filled with the protectiveness I felt as a father. Elif was 13, Mert was 10, and they shouldn't know these truths. They shouldn't see this ugly game between their parents. Ayşe shrugged, as if our children's future didn't matter to her at all. "They're old enough to understand," she said. "Besides, I'll take them with me. You just pay the alimony. The rest is none of my concern." At that moment, something inside me broke, not just as a man, but as a father. Did this woman see my children, my beloved little ones, as a bargaining chip? I started pacing the living room, my hands shaking, my thoughts jumbled. I looked out the large window of the mountain house. It was snowing, white flakes slowly falling to the ground, and I felt the same coldness inside me. "What else have you lied to me about during this marriage?" I asked, my voice now hardened. Ayşe took a deep breath and got up from the chair she was sitting on. "Not everything was a lie," she said, but the emptiness in her eyes questioned the sincerity of her words. "I loved you. I really did. But people change, needs change. I don't want to be with you anymore." The phone rang. It was Ayşe's phone. She looked at the screen and, without answering immediately, left the living room. I didn't follow her, because at that moment I had 1,000 questions in my head and I didn't know the answers to any of them. The silence of the house filled my ears, only the howling of the wind outside and the crackling of the fireplace. I sat down, put my head in my hands and began to think. When had this change begun? When had my wife become so distant from me? When I thought back, there were actually small clues. Ayşe had changed a lot over the last 6 months. She always carried her phone with her, never left the screen facing me, stayed up late at night, and was constantly messaging someone on WhatsApp. I had taken this for granted, thinking maybe she was talking to her friends, maybe her sister, or maybe she was pursuing a hobby. But now, after this pregnancy lie, everything started to take on a different meaning. Was there someone else? Was there a relationship behind this lie that I didn't know about? I got up and walked towards the room where Ayşe was talking on the phone. The door was ajar and I could hear her voice. "Yes, I told him," she said. There was tension in her voice. No, she wasn't angry, but I think she was shocked. Yes, it's going according to plan. Okay, we'll talk tomorrow. She hung up and I immediately turned back, pretending I hadn't seen anything, but my heart was racing. Who was she talking to? What was this plan she mentioned? How many more secrets did this woman have? Ayşe returned to the living room, a fake smile on her face. My sister was calling, she said, but I no longer believed her. I'm going to visit them tomorrow and stay for a few days. You'll look after the kids, won't you? I nodded, but 1,000 words were running through my mind. Yes, I'll take care of my children because I'm a father, and I'll always be there for them whether you are or not. But let me tell you something, Ayşe. This story doesn't end here. If you're playing a game, I'll learn the rules and eventually uncover the truth. I couldn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned in bed, thinking, making plans. The next morning, after Ayşe left the house, I went into her room. I usually don't go through her personal things because trust was important in our marriage. But that trust was gone now. I opened her closet, rummaged through her drawers, and there, in a box, I found many pictures. Ayşe with another man. They were laughing. They looked happy. Who was the man? I didn't know him, but the dates on the photos shocked me. They had been taken within the last year. That was long before the pregnancy lie. So Ayşe had been deceiving me for much longer. My hands trembled, my breath caught. I put the photos back in the box and left the room. My children were still asleep. It was early in the morning. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, and sat down. It was time to call my brother Murat. Murat was 3 years younger than me, a lawyer, and had always been there for me. I picked up the phone and dialed his number. Bro, what's up so early? He said, sounding sleepy. Murat, I need to tell you something, I said, my voice trembling. It's about Ayşe. I think we have a serious problem. I told him everything, the pregnancy lie, the pictures I found, Ayşe's secret phone conversation. Murat listened quietly and finally took a deep breath. Brother, this is very serious. As a lawyer, I have to tell you this. You need to gather evidence. If a divorce case is filed, these pictures and lies will be very important in your favor. I nodded, but a voice inside me asked, is it just divorce or is there a deeper betrayal? The day Ayşe said she was going to her sister's house, I stayed home with my children and tried to give them a normal weekend. Elif and Mert didn't ask why their mother had left because Ayşe often visited her sister and they were used to it. But I was trying to cope with the growing suspicion and fear inside me. On Saturday morning, after taking the kids to breakfast, I called Murat and suggested we meet. Brother, come to my office, let's talk about divorce proceedings, he said. But I wanted to know not only about the divorce process but also Ayşe's true intentions. When I went to Murat's office, he greeted me with a serious expression. There were several files on his desk and he motioned for me to sit down. Brother, I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to be honest, he said. When did you first notice a change in Ayşe's behavior? I thought about it, racking my brain. I think it was about a year ago, I said, but I thought it was just normal changes. Maybe it's fatigue, maybe it's a midlife crisis, I thought. She started using her phone more, staying up late into the night, sometimes even fiddling with her phone at midnight. Once I tried to take her phone from her while she was sleeping. She woke up immediately and got angry. It seemed strange at the time, but I didn't pursue it. Murat was taking notes, nodding his head. What about financial matters? Spending, bank accounts, credit cards? I froze at that moment. Financial matters. I had noticed that Ayşe had spent quite a lot in the last 6 months, but when she said she was pregnant, I thought it was for the baby. Yes, I said. She spent a lot in the last 6 months. I thought it was for the baby, but now that I think about it, I realize she didn't buy any baby things, just clothes, cosmetics, jewelry. She also kept asking for cash, saying it was for my sister, but now it all seems suspicious. Murat put his pen down on the table and looked directly at me. Brother, do you have access to her bank accounts? Do you have joint accounts? I shook my head. Yes, we have a joint account. Part of my salary goes into it, and Ayşe uses it for household expenses. I also have a personal account, but she doesn't know the passwords. Murat stood up and walked to the window. Brother, go to the bank tomorrow and check all the account transactions. Look at the last year in particular. Large cash withdrawals, bank transfers, credit card expenses. Write everything down and bring it to me. This information will be very important in the divorce case. Yes, divorce. Just hearing that word hurt me. 15 years of marriage, 2 children, the dreams I had built. It was all collapsing in an instant. But Murat was right. I had to face reality. After leaving the office that day, I didn't go straight to our mountain house. I wandered around the city center trying to clear my head. Then I made a decision. I had to check if Ayşe was really at her sister's house. I picked up the phone and called Ayşe's sister Zeynep. Zeynep didn't like me. She had always kept her distance, but maybe this time she would tell me the truth. Zeynep, it's Kemal. Is Ayşe with you? I said, trying to sound as natural as possible. There was silence on the phone. Then Zeynep said hesitantly, Kemal, Ayşe isn't here. Did you think she came here? My heart began to beat rapidly. Yes, she told me she was staying with you. Zeynep took a deep breath. Kemal, Ayşe and I haven't spoken in a few days. We had an argument, but I don't know where she is. Maybe with her friends. I hung up the phone. So Ayşe had lied. She wasn't at her sister's house. So where was she? Who was she with? When I got home that evening, the kids had eaten and were watching TV. I joined them, acting like a normal dad, but inside, I was torn apart. At midnight, a message came from Ayşe's phone. I'll be back tomorrow. Did you take good care of the kids? I didn't reply. In the morning, I went to the bank branch early. I told the customer representative that I wanted the account statements for the last year. They knew me. I was the regional manager after all, and they quickly put all the documents in front of me. I sat down and started examining them line by line, and what I saw shocked me. A total of 85,000 lira had been withdrawn from the joint account in the last 6 months. Large amounts like 10,000, 15,000 lira, and all of it had been withdrawn by Ayşe. Where had this money gone? She had said it was for preparing for the baby, but there was no baby things, just an empty lie. My hands trembled, my stomach churned. What was this woman doing with my money? I folded the documents, put them in my bag, and left the office. I went straight to Murat. When he opened the door, he understood the seriousness of the situation from the look on my face. What did you find, bro? He said. 85,000 lira, Murat. She withdrew 85,000 lira from our joint account over the last 6 months, and there's no explanation for it. Murat looked at the documents and frowned. This is very serious. If we present these documents in the divorce case, Ayşe's compensation claim could be rejected. But first, we need to find out where the money went. That afternoon, Ayşe came home. The children hugged her. They had missed their mother. I, on the other hand, was distant, cold. Ayşe noticed this but didn't say anything. I prepared dinner. We ate together, acting like a normal family. But I was making plans in my head. That night, after the children fell asleep, I sat across from Ayşe in the living room. I called your sister, I said, my voice calm but firm. You weren't at her house. Where were you, Ayşe? Ayşe's face turned pale. I saw a moment of panic in her eyes, but she quickly composed herself. I met a friend, then stayed at a hotel. I needed some time alone. I laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. You stay at a hotel to be alone? Then what happened to the 85,000 lira you withdrew from our joint account in the last 6 months? Ayşe froze. She hadn't expected this question. Did you check the accounts? she stammered. Yes, I did. And I want an answer. Where did that money go? Ayşe jumped up, now angry. Are you meddling in my private life? That money was for my needs. I stood up too and took a step towards her. Your needs? 85,000 lira worth of needs? You said it was for preparing for the baby, but there is no baby, Ayşe. There are only lies. At that moment the doorbell rang. It was midnight. Who could it be? Ayşe panicked. I'll get it, she said, and rushed to the door. But I followed her. When she opened the door, there was a man I didn't recognize standing there. He was handsome, well-dressed, and familiar to Ayşe. He was staring at me. Ayşe, you didn't answer your phone. I was worried, the man said. Then he saw me and paused. Who is this? I said, my voice trembling with anger. Ayşe didn't know what to say, and the man tried to back away, but I stepped in front of him. I'm asking, who is this? The man swallowed. I'm Ayşe's friend, I smiled, but inside I was stormy. Her friend? The friend who comes to our house at midnight? Ayşe intervened. Kemal, please, let's go inside and talk. But I didn't want to talk anymore. I had seen the truth. Everything was clear now. This man was the man in the pictures. The reason Ayşe had changed so much, told lies, withdrew money. It was this man. Get out, I said to the man, my voice cold as ice. Don't ever set foot in this house again, or I'll call the police. The man hurried away and Ayşe started crying, but I no longer felt pity. I'll meet with my lawyer tomorrow, I said. I'm filing for divorce, and I'll get custody of the children. I didn't sleep at all that night. By morning my decision was clear. I had to end this marriage and protect my children. The next morning I woke up before sunrise. In fact, it wouldn't be a lie to say I hadn't slept at all that night. My eyes were dark circles, my face was pale, but I felt a strange determination inside. Ayşe was sleeping in the guest room, and I was alone in the master bedroom. The children were still asleep. It was 6 o'clock, and I made coffee and went out onto the balcony. Snow had accumulated on the mountain tops. Everything was quiet and peaceful in the early morning, but my heart was filled with chaos. The phone rang. It was Murat. Brother, are you asleep? He said. No, I said, my voice tired. I need to tell you about what happened last night. I told him everything. The man coming at midnight, Ayşe's reaction, my decision. Murat listened quietly and finally took a deep breath. Bro, this is great. Now we have concrete evidence. A man who came to your house at midnight. If the neighbors saw him too, they can be witnesses. But I have to tell you, the divorce process won't be easy. Ayşe will demand compensation. She'll demand custody of the children, and she'll try to use everything against you. I nodded, took a sip of my coffee. I know, Murat, but I can't risk losing my children. They are my everything. Murat was about to say something, but stopped, then changed the subject. Brother, come over to our place tonight. We'll have dinner, we'll talk. Emine wants to see you too. Murat's wife, Emine, was someone I also loved very much. She was always supportive and understanding. Okay, I said. But I'll bring the kids too. I can't leave them alone. I didn't go to the bank that day. I took the day off. We had breakfast with the kids. I told them their mom had work today and that I would take care of them. Elif, my 13-year-old daughter, frowned. Dad, did you and Mom have a fight? She asked. I knew the kids sensed everything. No, sweetheart, I said, lying because I wanted to protect her. I'm just a little tired, that's all. But Elif wasn't convinced. There was doubt in her eyes. In the afternoon, Ayşe came out of her room. Her face was swollen. She had obviously been crying. We need to talk to the kids, she said. No, I said firmly. We won't say anything to the kids. First we'll resolve this issue between you and me, then we'll tell them. Ayşe looked at me angrily. Are you stopping me from talking to my children? I stood up and walked towards her. They are our children. Not yours, ours, and I won't drag them into this chaos. Ayşe grabbed her bag and walked to the door. "I'll talk to my lawyer. I'll file for divorce from you and I'll take my children." She slammed the door behind her. I didn't look after her because I had no reason left to stop her. That evening we went to Murat's house with the children. Emine greeted us at the door, smiling but with worry in her eyes. "Welcome," she said, and hugged the children. "Elif, Mert, come inside, I made cookies for you." The children happily ran inside while I sat in the living room with Murat. Emine brought us tea and sat down next to us. "Kemal," she said, her voice full of compassion. "Murat told me everything. I'm so sorry. It must be very hard for you to go through something like this." I nodded, my eyes filled with tears, but I didn't cry. "Emine, I'm only thinking about my children. I don't want them to stay in this mess." Emine held my hand. "They are strong children, and you are a strong father. Everything will work out, you'll see." That night, while we were eating, the doorbell rang. Murat got up and opened it. Standing there was my mother, and my brother Hakan was there. But Hakan's expression was strange, tense. "Mom, Hakan, why did you come?" I asked, standing up. My mother looked sad, her eyes were bright red. "Son," she said, her voice trembling, "we need to talk." Murat pulled me into the living room and the kids stayed with Emine. My mom, Hakan, and I sat in the living room. "What happened?" I asked, my heart pounding. My mom couldn't speak. Hakan took a deep breath and looked at me. "Brother, I need to tell you something. It's very difficult, but I can't keep hiding it." I paused, waiting. Ayşe was seeing me too. At that moment my world collapsed. A buzzing started in my ears and I couldn't breathe. "What did you say?" I said, my voice barely audible. Hakan bowed his head, his face bright red. "It started a year ago. Ayşe sent me a message saying she wanted to meet, and I agreed. At first we were just talking, then our relationship began." I slammed my fist on the table so hard that the glasses rattled. You're my brother. How could you do such a thing?" Hakan raised his head, regret in his eyes, but it was too late now. "Bro, I fell in love. Ayşe told me you neglected her, that you didn't love her. She said she needed me." I jumped up and walked towards Hakan. Murat stepped in saying, "Bro, calm down." But I couldn't stay calm anymore. "You destroyed my family," I yelled. "You were my brother. I trusted you." My mother was crying now, begging, "Please, son." "Hakan is very sorry. He knows he made a mistake." I turned around and looked at him. "Sorry? Will remorse bring back a year-long relationship? Will it bring back my marriage, my trust?" Hakan stood up and took a step toward me. "Brother, I'm truly sorry. Ayşe manipulated me. She used me. But you're right. I was your brother and I betrayed you." At that moment, I couldn't take it anymore. I punched Hakan in the face. He staggered and fell to the floor. Murat immediately stepped in and held me back. "Brother, don't do it," he shouted. "The kids will hear." Yes, the kids. Elif and Mert were in the other room and shouldn't hear this chaos. I pulled my hands away and turned around. "Get out," I said to Hakan, my voice trembling. "I never want to see your face again." Hakan got up from the floor, his lip bleeding. He looked at my mother, then at me. "Brother, please," he said, but I wasn't listening anymore. I said, "Get out." Hakan and my mother left the house together. After the door closed, I collapsed to the floor. Murat and Emine came over and hugged me. "Brother," Murat said, pain in his voice. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." I lifted my head and looked at him. "You didn't know?" Murat shook his head. "No, brother, Hakan didn't tell me either. Mom called tonight and said Hakan wanted to tell you. I didn't understand what was going on either, but now I know." Something inside me broke. Not just my marriage, but my family was falling apart too. My brother, my own brother, had betrayed me. How could I trust anyone now? How could I believe anyone? That night we stayed at Murat's house with the kids. The next morning I went straight to the lawyer. I told him everything: Ayşe's lies, the man, the money, and most importantly, Hakan's betrayal. The lawyer was an old, experienced man. He shook his head. "Mr. Kamal," he said, "there is a lot in your favor in this case. But you will also be emotionally drained. You need to be prepared." Was I prepared? I didn't know. But for my children, for my own honor, I had to fight this battle. A week later, the divorce case was officially filed. Ayşe also came with her lawyer and filed a counterclaim. She was demanding custody of the children, division of the house and property, and compensation. When the court date arrived, my lawyer and I were ready. We presented all the documents, photos, and bank account statements. Ayşe's lawyer, on the other hand, made allegations such as Mr. Kamal neglected his wife and subjected her to emotional abuse. But in front of the judge, Ayşe's lies were exposed one by one. The most critical moment was when Hakan was called as a witness. He came to court, his face pale. He took the oath and the judge began to ask him questions. "Mr. Hakan, could you describe your relationship with the plaintiff's wife, Mrs. Ayşe?" Hakan swallowed, looked at me, then turned to the judge. "Yes," he said, his voice trembling. "I had a relationship with Mrs. Ayşe for a year, but this relationship began at her instigation. She told me that my brother didn't love her, that he neglected her, and I believed her." The judge frowned. "You, the plaintiff's, are you her brother?" Hakan bowed his head. "Yes." A wave of murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Ayşe sat in her chair, her face as white as a sheet. Her lawyer tried to intervene, but the judge silenced him. "Continue, Mr. Hakan." Hakan continued, recounting all the details, their meetings, how Ayşe had asked for money, her plans. Every word turned against Ayşe. At the end of the hearing, the judge said, "I will announce my preliminary decision in a week." That week was the longest week of my life. I spent time with my children, gently trying to explain to them that their mother and father could no longer be together. Elif cried, Mert remained silent, but both said they understood me and wanted to stay with me. A week later, when we returned to court, the judge announced his decision. I am awarding custody to the father. The mother will have regular visitation rights with the children, but under supervision. Regarding the division of property, the money withdrawn from the joint account must be returned. The claim for compensation is denied. Ayşe screamed and yelled at her lawyer, but nothing changed. I was relieved, but also sad, because the woman I once loved had now become a complete stranger. My life had completely changed after the court's decision. I was no longer just a bank manager, but also a father raising 2 children on my own, taking on a new identity. Our mountain house now belonged only to me and the children. Ayşe had packed her things and moved to a small apartment in the city center. According to the court ruling, she could see the children twice a month under supervision, but Elif and Mert weren't very keen on seeing their mother. Especially when Elif asked, "Dad, why did Mom lie to us?" I didn't know how to answer her. "Sweetheart," I said, stroking her hair, "sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't love her. She's still your mother." But the disappointment in Elif's eyes hurt me deeply. There was nothing like a 13-year-old girl losing her trust in her mother. Mert, even though he was only 10, was acting more mature. He didn't even mention his mother, as if she had never existed. This worried me because he was bottling up his feelings. My job at the bank was getting harder and harder. I had taken many days off during the divorce proceedings, missed meetings, and failed to submit reports on time. My performance as regional manager had declined, and upper management had noticed. One day the general manager called me into his office. Mr. Mehmet was a 60-year-old man, experienced and stern. "Kamal," he said, sitting down at his desk, "I know your situation. The divorce process is difficult, but the workplace is different. Performance is important here." I nodded, not knowing what to say. "I understand, Mr. Mehmet. I said, my voice tired. I'm doing my best, but my children... Mr. Mehmet raised his hand, cutting me off. I'm giving you 1 month. You'll pull yourself together and improve your performance. Otherwise, we'll have to reconsider your position. It was a threat, clear and simple. I was in danger of losing my job. When I left the office that day, the sky was cloudy and it was about to rain. I got in my car and leaned on the steering wheel. Everything had suddenly come crashing down on me. The divorce, the children, my job, Hakan's betrayal. How would I cope with all this? The phone rang. It was Murat. "Brother, how are you?" he said, his voice full of concern. "I'm not okay, Murat," I said honestly. "Everything is so hard, I feel like I can't take it anymore." Murat was silent, then took a deep breath. "Bro, come over to our place tonight. Let's talk. We'll find a solution together." But I didn't want to go to Murat's house because I was afraid I might run into my mother there. After what Hakan had done, I had also grown distant from my mother. I didn't blame my mother, but her defending Hakan, saying, "He's your brother too," had hurt me deeply. "No, Murat," I said. "I need to spend time with the kids." "Thank you, but I want to be alone right now." I hung up the phone and drove home. I thought about it on the way. Was I doing the right thing? Could I be a good father to my children? Would I be successful in my job? Or would I lose everything? When I got home, the kids had prepared dinner. Elif had made pasta with tomato sauce in the kitchen and Mert had set the table. "Dad," said Elif, smiling, "we made you a surprise." We cooked dinner tonight. My eyes filled with tears, but I didn't cry. These children, how strong they were for me. They were working. "Thank you, my darlings," I said, hugging them. "You are my everything." That evening we ate together, watched TV, and I was able to relax a little. But after the children fell asleep that night, those dark thoughts came back. I went out onto the balcony and lit my cigarette. I was smoking now, even though I had quit years ago. But the stress was unbearable, and I couldn't relax any other way. The phone rang, an unknown number. I answered. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was familiar, but I couldn't place it for a moment. "Kemal, it's me, Hakan." My heart stopped, my breath caught. "What do you want?" I said, my voice cold. Hakan's voice was trembling. "Brother, I want to talk to you." "Please, give me a chance," I laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. "A chance? You want a chance from me? Have you forgotten what you did to me?" Hakan fell silent, then continued. "Brother, I'm so sorry. I regret it every day. Ayşe used me, manipulated me, but I was stupid too, I admit it. Please, let's talk face to face." I took a deep drag on my cigarette and blew the smoke into the air. "Hakan," I said, "you were my brother. I trusted you, I loved you. But now when I see you, I only see betrayal. I have nothing to talk to you about." I was about to hang up when Hakan shouted, "Brother, wait, there's something you need to know about Ayşe." I paused. "What?" Hakan took a deep breath. "Ayşe. Ayşe wasn't just seeing me, she was seeing someone else too. The man who came to your house that night was also involved with her. Ayşe was using me, him, and you, all of us." This information shocked me. "What are you saying?" Hakan continued. "Bro, Ayşe had a plan. She was going to divorce you, get alimony, then marry that man. But things didn't go as planned. When the court ruled against her, the man left her. Now Ayşe is alone and penniless." I didn't know how to feel. On the one hand, I felt sorry for Ayşe ending up like this because I had loved her once. But on the other hand, justice had been served. "So why are you telling me this?" I asked. Hakan's voice broke. "Because you're right, bro. I was also a victim of her games, but that doesn't excuse my guilt. I just wanted you to know the truth, and I want you to forgive me." I hung up the phone without answering. Could I forgive Hakan? I didn't know. Betrayal wasn't something so easy to forget. The following week, I started putting in more effort at work. I came in early, left late, submitted reports on time, and actively participated in meetings. Mr. Mehmet noticed this and came over to me one day. "Kemal, you're doing well," he said, patting me on the shoulder. "Keep it up." But I still felt empty inside. I was spending less time with my children and they could feel it. One evening, Elif said, "Dad, you don't spend time with us anymore," with a sad expression. I sat down and took her in my arms. "Sweetheart, I'm very busy at work. But I love you and Mert very much, you know that." Elif rested her head on my chest. "I know, Dad. But you're tired too. Maybe you should take a break." The fact that a 13-year-old girl was so mature both made me proud and sad. "You're right," I said. "This weekend I'll spend time only with you. What do you want to do?" Mert jumped up. "Let's go to the mountains, Dad. Let's have a picnic," I smiled. "Okay, we'll go to the mountains." That weekend we went to the mountains with the kids. The weather was nice, the sun was shining, and I found some peace in the middle of nature. Elif and Mert were running, playing, laughing. As I watched them, I thought, maybe life would continue like this. There would be difficult moments, but if we were strong together, we could overcome anything. But that afternoon the phone rang. It was my mother. "Son," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm at the hospital. Something happened to Hakan." My heart began to race. "What happened, Mom?" My mother was crying. "He had an accident." "With the car?" "It's bad, son. Please come." I turned to the children, my face pale. "Kids, we need to go to the hospital urgently. Something has happened to your uncle Hakan." When we arrived at the hospital, my mother was waiting in the corridor. Her eyes were red. She was rubbing her hands. I ran to her. "Mom, what happened?" My mother hugged me, crying on my chest. "Son, Hakan is in very bad shape. He hit his head. They're operating on him now." I sat down. My hands were shaking. Hakan, my brother Hakan, yes, he had betrayed me. Yes, I was angry with him, but he was still my brother. And now his life was in danger. Hours passed. The surgery continued. The children were waiting beside me. Elif had rested her head on my shoulder. Mert sat silently. Finally, the doctor came out. His face was serious, tired. "Mr. Hakan's family?" he asked. I stood up. "I'm his brother." The doctor looked at us. "The surgery was successful, but his condition is critical. He has a skull fracture and suffered a brain hemorrhage. T. Wenn überlebt, hat eine Chance auf Genesung. Meine Mutter sank zu Boden und ich stützte sie. Mein Sohn, mein Hakan, weinte sie. Gott, bitte vergib meinem Sohn. Wir blieben diese Nacht im Krankenhaus. Die Kinder schliefen auf dem Sofa und ich wartete vor Hakans Zimmer. Ich schaute durch das Fenster hinein. Mein Bruder lag im Bett, sein Kopf war bandagiert, sein Gesicht war blau angelaufen. Früher war er ein starker, gesunder Mann gewesen, aber jetzt kämpfte er um sein Leben. Ich hatte seltsame Gefühle in mir. Wut, Schmerz, Reue. Ich hatte ihm nicht vergeben, aber jetzt wollte ich ihn auch nicht verlieren. Am frühen Morgen kam der Arzt zurück. Herr Hakan ist wieder bei Bewusstsein, sagte er. Aber er ist sehr schwach und kann nicht sprechen. Er kann Besucher empfangen, aber die Besuche müssen kurz sein. Ich ging langsam hinein. Hakan öffnete die Augen und sah mich. Seine Lippen bewegten sich, aber es kam kein Ton heraus. Ich setzte mich neben ihn und hielt seine Hand. Hakan, sagte ich mit zitternder Stimme. Ich bin hier, mein Bruder. Sei stark. Tränen liefen über Hakans Wangen. Er versuchte etwas zu sagen, schaffte es aber nicht. Auch ich weinte. All meine Wut und mein Zorn waren wie weggeblasen. Denn in diesem Moment war nur eines wichtig, dass mein Bruder überlebte. Die 24 kritischen Stunden, die Hakan im Krankenhaus verbrachte, waren die längsten und schmerzhaftesten Momente meines Lebens. Meine Kinder schliefen vor Erschöpfung auf der Couch im Krankenhaus. Meine Mutter betete ununterbrochen und drehte ihren Rosenkranz zwischen den Fingern. Ich schaute durch das Fenster in das Zimmer meines Bruders und zählte jeden seiner Atemzüge. Die Ärzte kamen ständig herein und hinaus, untersuchten ihn und sagten, wir können noch nichts Definitives sagen. Murat war auch ins Krankenhaus gekommen, hatte Emine mit den Kindern zurückgelassen und war bei mir geblieben. »Bruder«, sagte er, meine Hand haltend, »Hakan ist ein starker Mann. Er wird es überstehen, glaub mir.« Ich wollte ihm glauben, aber meine Angst war stärker als meine Hoffnung. Als es dämmerte, kam der Arzt zurück. Diesmal hatte er ein leichtes Lächeln auf den Lippen. »Ich habe gute Nachrichten«, sagte er. »Der Zustand von Herrn Hakan hat sich stabilisiert. Die Hirnblutung hat aufgehört, seine Reflexe normalisieren sich. Wenn es so weitergeht, kann er in ein paar Wochen wieder gesund sein.« Diesmal begann meine Mutter vor Freude zu weinen. Auch ich atmete tief durch, als hätte ich monatelang den Atem angehalten. Murat umarmte mich. »Siehst du, Bruder, ich habe es dir doch gesagt. Ja, Hakan hatte überlebt, aber ich war immer noch unruhig, denn ich war immer noch wütend auf ihn. Ich konnte seinen Verrat nicht vergessen. Aber gleichzeitig hatte mir die Angst, ihn zu verlieren, etwas gezeigt. Egal, wie wütend ich auch war, er war immer noch mein Bruder und ich liebte ihn. Eine Woche später begann Hakan sich zu erholen und konnte wieder sprechen. Eines Nachmittags ging ich allein ins Krankenhaus. Ich hatte die Kinder zu Hause gelassen und sie Murats Frau Emine anvertraut. Als ich Hakans Zimmer betrat, saß er auf seinem Bett. Sein Kopf war noch bandagiert, aber sein Gesicht sah schon etwas besser aus. Als er mich sah, füllten sich seine Augen mit Tränen. »Bruder«, sagte er, seine Stimme war noch schwach, aber aufrichtig. »Du bist gekommen.« Ich setzte mich neben ihn. »Ja, ich bin gekommen. Wie geht es dir?« Hakan holte tief Luft. »Körperlich geht es mir besser, aber innerlich bin ich unruhig, denn ich weiß, was ich dir angetan habe. Und ich weiß, dass es dir sehr schwer fällt, mir zu vergeben.« Er schwieg und ich sah ihn an. Die Reue in seinen Augen war echt, sie war nicht vorgetäuscht. »Hakan«, sagte ich mit ruhiger, aber ernster Stimme, »du hast mich tief verletzt. Als ich meinem Bruder, dem Menschen, dem ich am meisten vertraute, nicht mehr vertrauen konnte, starb etwas in mir. Aber als ich dich in diesem Krankenhaus sah und die Angst verspürte, dich zu verlieren, wurde mir klar, dass ich dich immer noch liebe.« Tränen liefen über Hakans Wangen. »Bruder, ich habe damals viele Fehler gemacht. Ayşe hat mich manipuliert, das stimmt, aber ich war schwach und konnte mich nicht wehren. Ich werde die Sünde, die ich dir gegenüber begangen habe, nie vergessen.« Ich streckte meine Hand aus und legte sie auf seine Schulter. »Hakan, ich vergebe dir, denn du bist mein Bruder und das Leben ist zu kurz, um Hass und Wut mit sich herumzutragen. Aber sei dir bewusst, es wird sehr lange dauern, das Vertrauen wieder aufzubauen. Und wenn du so etwas noch einmal machst, werde ich dich komplett aus meinem Leben streichen.« Hakan nickte und nahm meine Hand. »Ich verspreche es dir, Bruder. Ich werde so einen Fehler nicht noch einmal machen. Und ich werde versuchen, deinen Kindern Elif und Mert ein guter Onkel zu sein. Ich möchte auch ihr Vertrauen gewinnen.« Als ich an diesem Tag das Krankenhaus verließ, verspürte ich eine seltsame Leik. Aber die eigentliche Abrechnung stand noch aus. Ayşe. Diese Frau hatte mein Leben auf den Kopf gestellt, meinen Kindern Schaden zugefügt und unsere Familie zerstört. Und nach dem Gerichtsurteil hatte ich nichts mehr von ihr gehört. Die Kinder durften ihre Mutter zweimal im Monat sehen, aber Ayşe war zu den letzten beiden Treffen nicht erschienen. Als Elif und Mert fragten, warum ihre Mutter nicht gekommen sei, habe ich es mit »vielleicht hat sie zu tun« abgetan, aber innerlich hatte ich andere Sorgen. Was machte Ayşe? Wo war sie? Eines Abends klingelte es an der Tür. Die Kinder lernten in ihren Zimmern, ich bereitete gerade das Abendessen in der Küche zu. Als ich die Tür öffnete, stand Ayşe vor mir. Aber die Frau, die ich sah, war nicht die Ayşe, die ich einmal gekannt hatte. Sie war abgemagert, ihr Gesicht war blass, ihr Haar zerzaust, ihre Augen waren blau unterlaufen. »Kemal«, sagte sie mit zitternder Stimme, »kann ich mit dir sprechen?« Ich zögerte einen Moment, öffnete dann aber die Tür. »Komm rein.« Wir gingen ins Wohnzimmer, sie setzte sich. Sie verschränkte die Hände und senkte den Blick. »Was willst du, Ayşe?« fragte ich mit harter Stimme. Ayşe hob den Kopf und sah mir in die Augen. »Kemal, ich bin gekommen, um mich zu entschuldigen. Ich bereue sehr, was ich dir, den Kindern und allen anderen angetan habe.« Ich lachte, aber es war ein bitteres Lachen. »Bereust du es? Du hast mich betrogen, mich belogen, unsere Familie zerstört, eine Affäre mit meinem Bruder gehabt. Und jetzt bereust du es?« Ayşe begann zu weinen, aber ich glaubte ihren Tränen nicht mehr. »Ja, ich bereue es, denn ich habe alles verloren. Die Männer haben mich verlassen, mein Geld ist weg, ich habe meinen Job verloren, meine Kinder sind weit weg von mir, ich bin allein und denke jede Nacht über meine Taten nach.« Ich stand auf und ging zum Fenster. »Ayşe, deine Reue interessiert mich nicht mehr. Deine Taten haben nicht nur mir, sondern auch unseren Kindern geschadet. Elif kann ihrer Mutter nicht mehr vertrauen. Mert spricht nicht einmal mehr über seine Mutter. Du hast eine Wunde in ihrem Leben hinterlassen, die nicht so leicht heilen wird.« Ayşe sprang auf und kam auf mich zu. »Kemal, bitte gib mir eine Chance. Ich möchte meine Kinder wiedersehen, ich möchte Zeit mit ihnen verbringen. Ich habe mich geändert, ich schwöre, ich habe mich geändert.« Ich drehte mich um und sah sie an. »Hast du dich geändert? Wirklich? Oder sagst du das nur, weil du jetzt allein bist? Wenn dieser Mann dich nicht verlassen hätte, wärst du dann jetzt hier?« Ayşe konnte nicht antworten, denn wir beide kannten die Wahrheit. »Geh, Ayşe«, sagte ich und deutete auf die Tür. »Wenn die Kinder dich sehen wollen, wirst du sie sehen, wie es das Gericht festgelegt hat, aber komm nie wieder in mein Haus.« Ayşe ging weinend zur Tür, drehte sich aber noch einmal um und warf einen letzten Blick zurück. »Kemal, eines Tages wirst du es verstehen, ich bereue es wirklich.« Ich schloss die Tür und schaute ihr nicht nach. Ich ging ins Kinderzimmer, wo Elif und Mert an ihren Tischen lernten. »Kinder«, sagte ich, »habt ihr euch gefragt, wer gekommen ist?« Elif hob den Kopf. »War das Mama, Papa?« Ich nickte. »Ja, aber jetzt ist sie wieder weg. Sie hat gesagt, dass sie euch vermisst.« Mert legte seinen Stift beiseite. »Papa, ich möchte meine Mama sehen, aber du musst dabei sein.« Ich setzte mich und umarmte sie. »In Ordnung, meine Lieben. Beim nächsten Treffen werde ich auch dabei sein. Aber ihr sollt wissen, dass ich immer für euch da bin, egal was passiert.« Elif legte ihren Kopf an meine Brust. »Wir wissen das, Papa. Du bist der beste Vater.« In dieser Nacht, nachdem die Kinder eingeschlafen waren, ging ich auf den Balkon. Die Sterne funkelten, die Luft war kühl, aber ruhig. Das Telefon klingelte, es war Murat. »Wie geht es dir, Bruder?« Ich lächelte. »Mir geht es gut, Murat. Zum ersten Mal seit langer Zeit geht es mir wirklich gut.« Murat schien erleichtert zu sein. »Das freut mich sehr. Übrigens, Hakan geht es auch besser. Ich habe ihn heute zusammen mit meiner Mutter besucht. Er hat gesagt, dass er dich sehr vermisst.« Ich atmete tief durch. »Ich werde ihn morgen besuchen, zusammen mit den Kindern.« Am nächsten Tag gingen wir mit den Kindern zu meiner Mutter. Hakan saß im Garten und sonnte sich. Als er uns sah, stand er auf mit einem schüchternen Lächeln im Gesicht. »Bruder, Elif, Mert«, sagte er. Elif zögerte zunächst, rannte dann aber zu Hakan und umarmte ihn. »Onkel, du bist wieder gesund.« Hakan umarmte sie ebenfalls mit Tränen in den Augen. Mert gesellte sich zu ihnen, ich näherte mich ihnen und klopfte Hakan auf die Schulter. »Willkommen zurück, Bruder. Wir haben dich vermisst.« An diesem Tag verbrachten wir Zeit als Familie. Meine Mutter kochte, wir aßen zusammen, lachten und unterhielten uns. Es war, als wäre nichts passiert, aber gleichzeitig hatte sich alles verändert. Die Wunden waren noch da, aber sie heilten langsam. Als wir am Abend nach Hause fuhren,